Okay, please confirm that you can see the slide.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, perfect. So once again, welcome. Once again, delighted to be here and looking at this journey called fundraise. But of course, fundraise is an important part of every startup journey. But it's, end of the day, it's a milestone in many years of long journey, long existence, fruitful existence that every startup will have. So we will try to put that in perspective as well. Often founders, of course, it's exciting, but often founders get overdrawn into this process. So part of our conversation will also be how to balance it with everything else that's going on. And like I said, would love to hear your thoughts as we move along the presentation and the discussions today. Now, of course, very glad to see a large number of startups here. Lemon Ideas, of course, has been a great uh, catalyst in making sure startups get the right support of all kinds. So really glad. And overall, if you look at the picture around yourself, great time to be a startup founder. India boasts today of over 108 unicorns, and we have over 800 plus incubators, accelerators going around. We are, of course, the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. And interestingly, there's so much attention on this area where Indians and particularly the young youth of India is so excited and drawn towards this space. As India took over the G20 stewardship for the year, one of the first things India did was to form a subcommittee on startups that didn't exist before. So now we have a startup subcommittee that's looking at how more cooperation slash collaboration can happen between the startups from various G20 countries and beyond. So lots happening, government policies, funding. There is slight issue these days, and I will talk about it. But by and large, if you look at the government scheme, right, recently launched government scheme around Startup India's seed fund scheme, amazing initiative to support young startups who are in the infancy. So lots happening. Great time to be part of this ecosystem. Yet the reality is, in spite of all the support, all the encouragement, funding sources, policy formulations, the sad reality is, and not just in India, folks, all over the world, a good 80 to 90% startups don't work out. And depending on which survey you look at, sometimes the number is 80, sometimes 90, but it's okay. A very large percentage of startups experience mortality rates rather early in their lives. And I would love to hear from you. Why do you think that's the case? So if we can have the mics turned on, please. And would love to hear some of your thoughts. Why do you think such a large percentage of startups don't work out?
So this is Vibhuti from With AI. Maybe because they are unable to achieve product market fit, they are trying to chase a problem which doesn't exist. People are not willing to pay for the product they are building. I think that is the biggest reason.
Actually, you're right. You're right. Yeah, all of your three reasons are all combined into very strong force. I agree with you. That's one big mega reason. But there's others as well. Other thoughts? Thank you. Others?
Yeah, I am agree with Gopal what he said. Actually, they have a strong belief that what they are building is only it is the correct, absolutely correct, and people think about people don't understand what we are developing. So that's
Hmm.
they don't get suggestions, they don't get feedback like that, and they try to build they hide their startup from other people's. Okay, if someone know about it, it will be they will be start to doing this also. So that is the big mistake did. And we also, so initially we did the mistake, then later on we recognize, okay, we are doing their mistakes. So we have started talking with more and more people and getting feedback, and then improving our startup and like this. So these are some issues I think, and they underestimate the cost that will be incurred to develop this platform and all these solutions. So there are some reasons.
Okay, no fair. Oh, sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Yeah, Saurabh Singhai.
Saurabh, excellent points, all of them, from feeling the sense of insecurity that someone might steal the idea, to falling in love with your product, to developing the solution in isolation, as we heard earlier, and not quite checking with the market. Very, very fair points. Thank you for sharing. Anything else?
Yeah, hi
Hi.
sir. This is yeah. You can.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
you can complete that. Take it
Hi.
ahead.
Hi. Hi, this is Shweta from Starcrossed.
Mhm.
I think it takes time to build anything, any brand in market. So it takes time for customers also to be loyal, or build habit of using your brand or whatever solution that you're providing. So I think giving up early can also be another reason, be it resources, expertise, or not being able to find a way. I think that might also be a reason for startups to
Okay.
fail.
Good point, Shweta. And you're right. You're right. Startups' journey is always full of challenges, and perhaps the one skill that is of most value to all founders is that of resilience, grit, staying the course. And Shweta, you're right. Often people give up early. Fair point. Yeah, go ahead. Let's hear maybe one
Yeah,
more thought, and then we'll move on, please. One more.
yeah. Hi, this is Gopal here.
Yes,
I'm
Gopal.
from Ghost India. Yeah. So what basically I think is there is a huge gap between real self and ideal self, as
Mhm.
Deepak ji has been saying. As Lemon Ideas ideology itself says that you have to work within as well. Your inner work is very important, and most of the time, the founders they come with a very good idea, but they are very far away from reality. What we call as wishful thinking. They think that everything should work out, but when it doesn't work out that way, they lack that perception and they just leave it. So what I think is that by doing that gap analysis and reducing the gap between real self and ideal self, we would be able to have a better success ratio, or a founder can be a successful founder.
Yeah, well stated, Gopal. And I loved what you talked about, the inner alignment. See, alignment with your own passion or mission is as important as aligning with customers and market that we've been talking about. Good point. Thank you. So, folks, allow me to move on, but great conversations. And you're speaking from, of course, experience. It's quite evident to me that, top reasons that one talks about. I think you mentioned all of them right there. Perhaps the one that didn't come about that strongly is perhaps the dynamics between the team, which is often top three, top five reason out there. This could be differences with co-founders. This could be equity issues. This could be responsibility issues. If you see in the movie Social Network, the entire premise was this deep rift that got created between the Facebook founders, right? And of course, the movie talked a lot about it. The other ones are also important on the list here, to make sure what we're building is not just addressing real needs right at the top, right? Addressing real needs of real people, but we are doing it in a way that makes us somewhat unique in the eyes of the customer. Not unique because I think my product has these three cool features that no other product has, but uniqueness that encourages customers to say, you're different, you're interesting, and you're useful. I'll buy what you said. It's a journey, right? From that feature enrichment to a customer leaning towards the product. That differentiation has to be super strong. And of course, we're going to talk about, this whole session is about funding. So we got to have at least basics of our unit economics worked out. My personal observation of mentoring startups, there's two other angles that I see in startups at all stages, but usually around for startups on early traction stage. First one is this strong belief, again connected to the fact that as I think someone very rightly said earlier, you fall in love with your idea a little too soon, and hence you believe that the moment I build this like new mouse, the floodgates are going to open and the world will be rushing toward me to buy the new mouse. So that mindset that as long as I build a great thing, it will sell does not work. The world is smart, world is competitive. We got to make sure what we build, what is needed, rather than first build it and try hard to sell it later. Big difference. The second part about not letting go really is about as startups start to grow. And this could be, growing from 5-10 member team to 30 member team and 30 to 100. Founders have been so used to creating the startup from all facets, right? From being the chief janitor to the chief strategy officer and everything else in between. That as new team members come on, they find it difficult to give control to others. They like to be part of most decision making, which is okay when you're small, but as you grow, you are actually the weak link in the whole process. You're going to delay decision making. You probably end up making wrong decisions because everything is just waiting for your input. So organizations grow when startups grow when people grow. And growth here, by the way, it refers to not just adding more people in the organization, but really the maturity of the founder himself or herself. Somebody talked about the inner self, right? This is the leadership growth. That you're not just a techie, you're not just a guy or a lady who's come with a cool idea. You're actually a leader of an organization. A lot of that mental switch has to happen within the founder. So, folks, many reasons. Part of our exercise today is to make sure you put on an investor lens, and hopefully you can try to avoid some of the reasons. And we want you to dream. We want you to dream big, but we also want you to be prepared. So, folks, what do you see on the slide? What is this picture telling you? What's the story? Go ahead. Anybody? What do you see?
An idea needs to fly.
An idea needs to fly. Okay. Okay, fair enough. What else?
I have an idea and I think that it is going to take off really well.
Okay, so it says there's an idea, I'm excited, I'm smiling, and I'm going to convert that idea into this major force that's going to be launched. Fair enough. What else? Do you see that our founder is kind of prepared for the journey? Do you sense?
So we are thinking of rocket and
No.
moving on bicycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thinking big.
It is saying that it takes time to fly. So we
It
have
takes
to
time.
ride slowly and carefully.
Very nice. Okay. So Raman says it's going to take time. Start with the bike and dheere dheere keep increasing till you become a rocket. And he seems to be prepared, right? He's got the bike, he's got a backpack, and he knows the journey is not flat. You see a little curve? It's a little incline that the journey is towards his current dreams to the actual thing called startup. But folks, if this is the dream, this is the reality.
Yes, sir.
What do you see now?
The up and downs and
Okay.
full of roller coaster ride.
And
Hurdles.
okay, hurdles and
Lots of adventure and story to remember. That's what
adventure,
makes,
excitement.
yeah. Lots of adventure and lots of story to remember.
I would say there are lots of hurdles, but there's also a way through.
Thank you. Was that Omar?
Yes.
Thank you. Well observed. For every problem, there's at least one solution hanging in there. So once again, going back to what I think Shweta said earlier, if you have the resilience and the staying power, you'll find the answers eventually. You got to have the staying power to say, okay, the journey is definitely not linear. It is this, and I'll figure my way out either by myself and or with the support of my team and or with the support of all my well-wishers and mentors around. So folks, we show this not to scare you, but to prepare you. And the same conversation will happen with your investors. They will ask you to talk about your journey. And please, it's okay for you to say, listen, at some point I was so low, I didn't know what to do. That makes you real. If all we're going to tell investors, listen, I came up with the idea 2 years ago. I went out in the market, did my research, launched it, and life has been good. Not a single hiccup. Sorry, not real. I'm not saying make up hiccups, but please be real and genuine when you certainly talk to the investors. Okay, I just our focus is on funding. For the session I mentioned, I'll talk about so-called funding winter. Have you been reading about that in the papers? Folks, funding winter, is that a known
Yes,
phrase?
yes.
By the way, just a quick yes. Has anybody formally approached investors for funding? Yes, like so far yet. Just a yes if you have.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Shiv, Shweta.
We've been given a grant, but no formal investor per se.
Okay, okay, Mark. Thank you.
I have tried both.
Grant and fundraise, huh? Equity.
Yeah,
raise.
so I have received grant from state government of Bihar,
Hmm.
and recently we have applied for RKBY through IIT Banaras. Probably we will be getting the results in next 2 days.
Okay, and I see a couple of hands, so go ahead, speak please.
A few get Vantage and other ventures in Kolkata through Free Flow Venture Builders.
Okay, others you want to share?
I got few intent also, but like in the last days they started asking for more equity, so we denied the offer.
Okay, who else has their hand up? Go ahead, please speak up. Okay, so thank you for sharing, but I heard only a few voices, so many of you still haven't faced the investors. That's okay. Hopefully, this session and a few others that Lemon Ideas putting together will help you. It's a reality that funding has become tighter. Are startups still getting funded? The answer is yes. Do I still, as an angel investor, get invitations to attend startup pitches and decide if I want to invest? Yes. Are good startups getting funded? Yes, far more. So what has changed? Two things. Investors have become a little pickier about their startups. So they're asking more detailed questions. They're making sure the investment is that much more solid than before. So there is that much more due diligence that is getting added on. So they are really looking for those gems to stand out. Two, and hence because of that, some bit of the negotiation is become steeper. So if early you were perhaps getting a valuation of 100 crores today, an investor would say, okay, 5%, but no more than 70 crores valuation, kind of. Second, the whole funding cycle has elongated. Earlier, from let's say a seed/pre-series A, 3-4 months from the time you made your first pitch to money in the bank, 3 to 5 months. Today, I'm seeing 6, 8, 12, almost a year sometimes. So what it means is that there is, okay, let me summarize. There is money out there for good deals, high quality founders, high quality startups, but you must plan alternate runways because funding, even if it's a yes, it takes time to hit your bank. So just be aware. Is there funding winter? I think it's a reality, but I don't want to overplay that card because deals continue to happen. Like I said, volume has gone down, time is elongated, but they continue to happen. And how do you then prepare for this? How do you prepare? And today's funding winter, tomorrow it will be funding spring, and things will start looking back up again. Either way, what should you prepare for? I think one of the first things every founder must understand is to try to look at things from an investor perspective. What I'm going to do right now is share with you how I, as an angel investor, would evaluate startups. What is the mental process, physical process that I follow? And it'll be common across investors, although everybody has their own personal nuances as you go along. Okay, so most often we are invited for pitches, right? We are invited for a 2-hour session, and 4 startups, 6 startups will pitch. These are pitching competition. These are personal pitches. These are network pitches. And typically, how long is a pitch? Do you want to guess? How much time is given to each founder to make a pitch? Do you want to guess?
Maximum 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, in that range. 5 to 10 minute pitch, maybe another 5 to 10 Q&A, and you're done.
And
so think about it. Sorry?
10 to 12 slides.
Yeah, we'll come to that as well. So folks, the time is little less. And I'm being honest here. It is unfair to judge startups and founders on that, but that's what investors need to do because we get dozens of pitches floating through our system, whether it's LinkedIn, email, references every day. And we need to have this mechanism quickly sifting through these pitches. So when I listen to a pitch, a 10-minute pitch, honestly, the thought in my head is, do I want to meet this team afterwards? Yes or no? Simple. Do I want to take the conversation forward? Because they're formally pitching, there are other people in the room. Do I want to do a one-to-one with this team? Yes or no? And the yes or no is decided by A, if I like the team, you can just get sense of dynamics, right? I like their passion, I like their energy, I like their honesty. They seem to have made a good pitch in articulating their story, and looks like they're onto something very unique that nobody else is doing. Because remember, investors are talking to hundreds of founders. Even in, let's say, agri, that there's enough data that they have. They know what's going on broadly as a trend. So all I'm trying to do in those 5 to 10 to 15 minutes is say, listen, this looks like an interesting idea, interesting team, let's talk. And that's all that you need to do as a founder, just to leave enough of a mark in their head to say, there is potential for another conversation. That's when the real story starts. So what was earlier the tip of the iceberg, the real action happens much after the first pitch. Folks, I must also tell you, despite what you see on Shark Tank TV, etc., where deals are made and money is committed and check is exchanged, actual money doesn't come to you till a lot of the stuff at the bottom happens that I'm going to talk about. It has never happened in my life that we've seen a pitch, great pitch, check given and deposited the next day. Never happened. If the check is given, it's a notional check. It says pending due diligence. So what happens thereafter? Well, that's where you start having more conversation, meeting, Zoom talk over the last 2-3 years, where you really get into the nitty-gritties of the business. What is the business? How big is the opportunity? How big is the team? Why are you doing what you're doing? How will you sell it? How will you develop it? Who else is doing it? Do you need 50 lakhs or do you need 5 crores? Why? Do you think the valuation is 10 crores or 100 crores? Why? This is usually 3 to 5 meetings right here to figure out, the crux of the business. And if that's a go, then there's a lot of documentation that exchanges. The due diligence, the legal stuff, the accounting stuff, to figure out, are we really doing all the right investments here? As an investor in my head, I'm saying, is it the right ROI? If I put a 50 lakhs, will I get that 5 crores in, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, 7 years? And then a term sheet comes about, a lot of legalese, and then finally, if everything is good, money in the bank. And folks, from the top to the bottom, as I said earlier, 6 to 9 months. Grants are usually faster. Personal HNI investments are usually faster. Seed is faster than Series A. But the moment there's institutional investors who get involved, the Blooms and others of the world, then they have their own process to follow. Personal fundraising, quicker, faster, but the ticket size is also smaller by the way. So folks, this is how the investor is looking at you. Is the tip of the iceberg interesting for me to spend the time and energy to go into all the details to understand the nuts and bolts of your business? However, as a founder, your focus is not how do I make a great pitch. That comes much later. Your focus is how do I build a great business that any investor would be so interested in knowing more about. Any investor will be so keen on investing in. So your job as a founder is to build a solid business bottom up with all the stuff that you see in the slide here. What's your business strategy? What's your positioning? What's your competition? What's your go-to market? What's your product roadmap? What's your team roadmap? What kind of culture are you building? What's your cap table and how will it get diluted? All that stuff, bottom up. If you do a good job of that, then your story in front of the investor is that much more convincing. I'll pause here and see if you have any questions. Any questions or comments?
Ajay, a question for you.
Yeah.
Now, my understanding following your conversation was that when we're looking at a pitch, of course, the idea and everything is there. normally we try to condense everything in that 5-10 minutes, right? And we say, let's give the entire thing, okay, in as brief thing as possible. Now, what you're trying to say is don't give the entire thing. You might just want to focus on a teaser kind of thing, that these are the significant things. It might not hold the story, but enough to generate enough interest. Is that what we should be reading? Because see, if I put everything in that 10 minutes, then it becomes very kind of pressed for time. On the other hand, if I'm just creating a teaser kind of a thing, then that's a different effort altogether.
Okay, I think it's a great question. So reality, Omar, is actually, I would say neither. I'll tell you where I'm coming from. Creating a 10 slider or a 15 or 20 slider with so much information and let's say all your financial plans for the next 3 to 5 years, which is just an Excel file, honestly, fictional at this stage. Sorry, but that's what happens. You'll end up drowning the investors. See, the problem with this pitching is not only are you telling somebody, hey, I'm good, invest in me, you also want them to be engaged with you. And if you can't hold their attention for 10 minutes, how will you hold the attention for the duration of the relationship? So the pitch has to not drown the person in detail, save for some later, agreed. Yet, it can't be so minimalistic that the person says, I'm not sure you even understand what they're doing. It's the right balance. And of course, today I'm going to talk about 5 things that help you strike that balance. So, Mark, so if you can hold on to that thought, it is less, but not so minimum that they switch off. It is not more, it is some, but not so much more that they again switch off due to over processing of information. I'll tell you how to strike that balance. Omar, can you hold on to that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. But good question. I'll tell you, this is my personal view here. Certainly from an early stage funding conversations, for me, 3 things will get the hook into the second meeting or the second to the third meeting, the third meeting to the fourth meeting. Number 1 is the team. Most angel investors, unless you're coming through like a angel investing club, there are thousands of people and there's anonymity and you don't know where the money is going, kind of. People who make personal investment like to get involved to some extent. They like to be hopefully not operationally involved day to day, but like to be involved in the journey overall. So for me, at least, it's really important to connect with the team. I just need to get that vibe. It may not happen in meeting 1, maybe take 2-3 meetings, that's fine. But to me, to get the sense this team is making sense. They're on to something big. And they have what Shweta said earlier, the staying power. You'll get a sense. I'll tell you how to read that, but that's a sense I need to get. I also need to get a sense that, I'm not just talking to yet another Ola solution provider, or yet another Ramon provider, yet another Farm-Easy provider. There's something new about what you're trying to do here. And of course, last but not the least, as an investor, I need to make sure that the story is scalable. There's enough potential customers in there who can ensure revenues and profits going forward. Okay, there's some hands raised. I can take a quick question, 1 or 2 here, please. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Bishwajit from Easy Hills.
Yes, sure.
We are creating a marketplace for the hospitals. So here I have one question on the teams. Okay, means normally what happens, means I am the CEO of the company. And whenever the pitches and approaching to the someone, I normally represent the company and I do the pitching. So is it better that, I represent, or I have to take all the people along with me, all the 3 people who are there? So what is better? Means I wanted to have that kind of suggestion. Okay. And another question I had means mostly whom we meet in the beginning are the analysts. Okay, that, for any kind of discussions. Now, what they actually look for means what is their intention? I understand the pitch initially it is about team and etc. what you have mentioned, but I believe they look for some more data and detail. So how we should prepare for that?
Okay, good question, Biswajit. Give you a quick answer, and we got to keep moving because I do want to share the 5 things that will help you make a great pitch. Should the entire set of co-founders go for every presentation? The answer is no, you don't need to. I'm assuming in your presentation, there's a slide on team where you can touch upon each person's capabilities. Now, with a star, my answer was with a star. If it's a first meeting, only one founder is good. If you have a subsequent meeting, and the meeting is, let's say, about the great technology that you're developing, and you are a more of the business head of the venture, and you have another CTO, then I would say take the CTO along for the next meeting. So depending on the agenda, if it's a first meeting, as a CEO, you can represent the organization. If it's detailed conversation thereafter, please take some of the team members. Your second question was, okay, when you're talking to analysts, what are they looking for? See, analysts by definition, what does an analyst do? What do you think?
They collect the data and analyze and see that, create a report and,
for that one venture, what are they doing? What is their job?
They probably try to, correlate the things and, try to find out the depth of the business and understanding and the stage or something like that.
Yes, and they are also keeping an eye on industry trends. So some analysts would only, let's say, look at agri-businesses. Others will only talk about EV. Others will only talk about consumer-facing goods, etc., etc. Others will only do, let's say, SaaS for B2B. They are not just looking at a startup that comes to them. They also have it part of the job description to keep an eye on what's happening in the industry. What are the big corporates doing? What are the new startups? What funding is happening in India? What's happening in Israel? What's happening in the US? So they're also coming to you with a big picture view of your industry. So in their head, I think the three items you see in the screen are still running. My sense, they start bottom up. They'll say, listen, I'm looking at all the trends, and it looks like the opportunity to be a medicine delivery company is not as big today as it was 5 years. I'm just giving a random example. It's not based on data. Or to say, listen, the opportunity to develop swappable batteries for EV is too premature. India is not ready for it. So my sense is that they will do that. Of course, they'll talk to you about your product and differentiation and how you plan to market, all of that. And of course, they want to know you, the founder. So it's all there. Their prioritization may vary. If they don't sense a differentiation, if they don't sense the market is big enough, you might see that interest going down. No matter how good you are as a team, it just probably won't click with them. So you have to also, that's part of the 5 pillars I'm going to tell you. You have to alter your story based on who your audience is. We'll get there. Folks, hold your thoughts. We're going to get there. I really, really want to get into the nitty-gritties of pitching. And before I do that, we've started talking about it, pitch already. But what is a pitch in general? How would you define one? Anyone?
A pitch is a nutshell what the idea is all about and what's the potential.
Okay.
It's about creating the interest.
Creating interest. Who can you pitch to?
Whom we want to sell.
Okay. So can you pitch to customers?
Stakeholders.
Shweta says, can you pitch to customers?
Yes.
See, it depends what
Yes.
see, it depends what you're talking about. Pitching,
Okay.
you will have to pitch to different stakeholders. But then the outcome of each pitch is very different.
Perfect. So pitching is a general word. You will pitch to investors, customers, partners, employees, co-founders. But the general sense is you are conveying an idea and the excitement and the potential of the idea, right? Of course, the lens will change depending on who you talk to. So pitching is a general skill. The reason I flag it, folks, some founders out there actually come and say, I don't like to pitch. And honestly, my answer is, please learn the skill. It is very, very learnable. It is very practicable, because today you're talking in the context of fundraise. Tomorrow you're running a business. You'll be pitching every single day. You may not have a PPT, but you're pitching. A founder is always pitching. Folks, please keep in mind, not always for funds, for all kinds of things. So point I'm making is pitching is a vital skill. Pitching is an evergreen skill, and pitching is not very easy, but pitching can be learned and practiced rather well. Back to the funding context. I don't know if the first one is the pitch, but there is a tagline pitch that happens usually, and then there is so-called elevator pitch, and then there is the full pitch. Tagline is, I don't know, 10 seconds, elevator is 40 seconds, and a full pitch could, as we discussed, could be 5 to 10 minutes. We'll talk about this. And tagline is really, I want to deal with that quickly here. It essentially is a one-line statement of what your business does for whom. You see some examples here? Real examples, real startups. We enable people to build wealth from stocks. That's it. That's the tagline. Could be the mission statement. I'm not getting into that yet, but that's their tagline. That's their 10-second, 5-second pitch, really. Can anybody make that pitch right now? A 5-second pitch of what you do for whom?
Yeah, myself.
Anyone? Shiv? Yeah, go ahead.
Building a world without waste.
Building a world without waste. Very good. Okay.
Local bazaar, online avatar.
Local bazaar.
Online avatar.
Local bazaar, online avatar. Okay. Interesting.
Book any hospital from anywhere in the world.
Book anyhow. Perfect. Guys, you see this? Very crisp examples. Some of them have an emotional sense to it, but at least you get a sense of what they're trying to do.
So
very good.
Connecting the unconnected?
Yeah. I mean, I will need to know more, but it's very interesting what you just said, Omar. I will need to know more. I didn't quite understand from that yet, but we'll get there.
Making the fun hassle-free.
Making
the fun hassle-free.
Making the fun hassle-free. Okay, we'll need to know more. It's a nice line, but I need to know more. Okay, but you guys get the idea. One liner about your business is your tagline, and you will use it everywhere, including your branding and collaterals, of course, and websites. But before we get into the 5 things you can do to practice making great pitches, I want to hear why you think so many founders struggle with pitching. And let's only talk about investor pitching for now. From this point on, we only talk about investor pitches and not partner or customer pitches. Why do you think? You know, there are often times, even as investors, by the way, oftentimes we say, listen, we see a startup doing well. Listen, this deal came to me 2 years ago. I actually attended the pitch and I didn't like it, but somebody else picked it up. So often the investor will lose out on an opportunity, but often the founder also loses out. She's not able to get that right investor on board because the pitch didn't quite do the job. Why do you think that happens? Can you give me some reasons? Yeah, go ahead.
Jargons.
Too many jargons. Great.
No numbers.
Okay. Few numbers or too many numbers, either way. Problem. Yeah.
Not defining the business very well.
Okay.
Probably sometimes the perspective varies because you're too much involved in the business, so you see it in a very different sense. So
actually, you speak
what
Omar, you want to
No, hold on. Just let Omar finish. What do you mean by that? Just elaborate on that, please.
see, you can use a lot of jargons and all that, but if you're looking at it purely from a technical perspective, that you might lose out the investor who's also who's looking at it from a return perspective. So you're saying, see.
Go ahead.
So that.
You're right. So not having an outside-in view and more seeing things more from your perspective. Okay. Let's hear 1 or 2 more, please.
Raising more questions than answering them.
Which Shweta may not be bad. I mean, see, if I like what you said and have questions, I will actually set up another meeting with you. But you have to pick my interest first. If I'm interested and I have questions, I'll meet you. If I'm not interested and drowned, I have questions, I'll say chhod.
No, what I mean is in pitch only if they ask questions and you're not able to answer.
I see.
That is what
Good one. And by the way, we will talk about it later, but let me tell you, it's okay if you don't know a few of the answers. Okay, few. If they ask you 10 questions and you handle 8, it's okay for the other 2 to say, not sure, can I get back to you? Don't make up answers. Don't fib, because it's very visible. If you don't know, well, I have sent, but I'd much rather do some homework and get back to you by tomorrow.
Okay. The another reason is what we speak, what we want to speak, rather than what they want to listen.
We'll come to that. Good point. I'll come to that. In fact, that's the first pillar in our 5 steps. So you're right. A story that doesn't tell me why you want to make this, why is it so important to you? People coming and making pitches saying there is no competition. The differentiation is not clear. Projections we talked about, getting too greedy, not have any foundation on. You've seen the Shark Tank, right? People coming and saying, I'll give you 3% for 1 crore. What is the rationale? Where are you getting the 33 crore valuation from? And last point is also important. We will touch upon it. And more, of course. You also shared some very interesting leads. Okay, let's jump in, folks. I'm going to share with you 5 pillars that help you make great pitches. Number 1, and somebody very rightly said earlier, know who you are pitching to. Is it an analyst or is it a senior partner? Is it a company that invests largely in early stage? And if you're a late stage, there's a problem. So folks, just like in a business, we do develop customer personas, we do market research, you really understand our customers, you got to understand your investors. If an investor says publicly, mostly it's on their website, says, we do a minimum check of $1 million and you're only raising 50 lakhs, trust me, you're wasting your time. And they'll get annoyed. And tomorrow when you really want to raise 1 million, it might just be trouble. So what is the minimum check size? Do the maximum check size? Do they invest in new industries? Now, some VCs will go out and say, we are strong believers in EV. There were investors who were 5 years ago. They were saying, we are the crypto investors. You got an idea on crypto, come to us first, because they want to take that leadership position in that space, in that domain. EV went through the same cycle. So figure out if that investor is active and interested in your domain. Figure out the stage of investing they usually do. Figure out if they are interested in India businesses or a global story. Are they Bharat, in the Bharat stories, or are they open to global audiences and global scale businesses? It's not good or bad, it's being selective. So there's so many on social media, Google, LinkedIn's, people share this, oh, here's an Excel file with 200 investors in India. And you start pushing out messages to all. My strong recommendation, don't do it. Do your homework. Of those 200 odd, whatever, on an average, you'll find about 20 odd who are aligned to what you're trying to do in life. Yet another example. There are startups that have, there are social ventures. So if you're going to go to a hardcore commercial investor, they may appreciate the idea, but do nothing with it. Yet there's a breed of investors who go out and claim exactly that. We invest social enterprises. We invest in responsible climate enterprises. So please do your homework. Don't spray and pray. It doesn't work. It gets you a bad name. The investor community is very small. We have WhatsApp messages floating around of people who try to reach or just sometimes become nasty about how much they pursue people. So just be professional, be focused. Pillar number 1. Before you send out your first email, do your homework. It takes time. Second, and a lot of founders miss this. They assume that the other person knows. They don't. Why are you doing this? We were talking to Geeta the other day, founder of Niramai, who's created a very, very innovative way of detecting breast cancer early. She's really says, my cousins, I lost my cousins because their diagnosis came too late in the game. We couldn't save them. It hit me. And as a scientist, I said, isn't there a way out? And that's when she started inventing and created this device. There's a fintech startup we talked to. Young startup says, I've been investing in the market since I'm 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. And I'm saying it's a learnable skill. Why aren't people doing it? Can I create something that makes a smart, savvy investor out of each one of us? That's the Art of startup. So when you go to a investor, most people think, no, it's very analytical. I can't give my sob story. No story, sob story, but keep it sharp, keep it genuine. But why do you want to make this your life for the next 20, 30, 40 years? What's triggered it? What's bothering you so much about this space that you've try to come out with a solution and make it your life story. So folks, please make it as part of your introduction. Your bachelor's, your master's, your 12 years of experience is great, but also say why this founding team is so committed for doing this startup. Very important, often is ignored. Third, this is really the heart of the presentation. What is your business model and has it been validated enough? And I'm underscoring validated, which means you've tried it out with a few customers. And you see the things at the bottom, all very critical. In fact, I'm going to give you, towards the end, I'm going to show you all these pieces. So all that we discussed in that iceberg example, what is the problem you're solving? How closely do you know your customers? How differentiated is your product? What is your team like? What kind of resources do you have? Do you have global ambitions? Really, how will you sell it? How will you brand it? Your business model should be on your fingertips. You got to be able to talk this story. You got to be able to, somebody very rightly said earlier, know your metrics. And of course, they'll vary depending on the kind of startup you're in, but basics, right? What's your revenue or growth rate? What's your customer acquisition cost? What's your churn rate? What kind of runway do you have in your cash? What kind of NPS is your customer giving you? Basics, if you ask me. But anyway, do relevant homework and make sure, there are these key 8 to 10 metrics every investor will not just expect to see in your slides. So make sure you cover those. That's third. Fourth, unfortunately, most people think a pitch is all about PowerPoint. And the reason I'm showing it as a fourth point is to demystify that, to negate that view. Far more than a PowerPoint, it is how well you articulate yourself. I've seen startup presentations in which there was no PowerPoint. People who make real products, they brought their product with them, whether it's shoes made from rubber or handicraft from Rajasthan or whatever they were doing. They brought physical products and created a whole story around it. Let people touch, feel their product. Make it visual, your PowerPoint. Your PowerPoint has to be engaging. Remember I said, if you don't make it engaging and if it's Zoom call in 5 minutes, the guy is checking his WhatsApp, not good. Use your PowerPoint, sharpen your PowerPoint skills to convey a good story effectively. You want to guess what the 10, 20, 30 rule is? Kai Kawasaki.
10%, 10% free space, 20% design, 30% text, something similar to that.
Interesting. Okay, it's an interesting take, although that's not what he thought of, but it's an interesting take on it. It's close. It's close to what he said. But similar messaging. Anybody else? You want to guess? So, Guy Kawasaki says, broad rule of thumb, no more than 10 slides. Don't take more than 20 minutes to explain them. And make sure the font size in your slides is no less than 30. Essentially, make it visual, make it bold. All information. Don't copy paste from Excel and post in your PowerPoint. Don't ever do that. It just looks ugly. It's very overwhelming to see all those, 10 rows and 4 columns, and you're trying to walk me through it. It's very hard to do it in a 10-minute presentation on a PowerPoint. That's better suited for a one-to-one where you can actually open this Excel file and say, okay, go to cell C4 and go to cell E5 and I'll walk you through it. That's a different context. Pitching is not the right context for Excel cell discussions. Okay, and last but not the least, in most startup funding deals, especially early stage, folks, you are the real deal. I mentioned earlier, the founder or the founders is the number one bet people we are betting on. So make sure you understand that. Make sure you bring your A game to that presentation. Practice before you get there. Practice, practice, practice. It's very doable. Be confident, be clear. It doesn't matter whether you're talking in Hindi, English, or Kannada. Language doesn't matter. You have to be very clear in what you do. And I think Shweta said earlier, listen hard to questions. There will be questions. Don't be in a hurry to answer. Listen, pause, reflect, answer. If you don't know, tell them you'll get back. So folks, let me summarize it quickly. Going back, do your homework, figure out your life story and let it come through in your presentation. Really master your business fundamentals and business metrics. Create a PowerPoint deck that is engaging and interesting, and tell that story, standing there with conviction and confidence. Questions, comments? Okay, we're going to do a little practice. So I talked about the tagline pitch. We've talked about the 5 pieces of the big 10-minute pitch. The one in the middle, really, don't worry about this. Let's jump in straight. I'm going to give you a framework, not the framework, a template for making elevator pitches. By the way, why are these called elevator pitches? Anyone?
Basically,
Yeah.
it has a
Then if you
already. Okay, go ahead. Saurabh,
yeah,
please.
if you are with someone in elevator, and it should be completed within the journey of the, if you are in elevator.
Okay, fair enough. And typically, how long is an elevator journey? I mean, of course, assuming you're not going to 100 floors, World Trade Center.
Yeah, 20 to 30 seconds.
That's it. That's it. From the time you enter to press the button to, getting to your 5th floor and stopping once or twice, that's all you get. So you got to be really, really crisp. Beyond the hi, hellos, and handshake, I'm sharing it. Again, you can do it many ways, but there's one way of looking at it. And we'll take an example. So this is an example of a fintech startup who I shared that story, right? The young founder found that many people don't know how to maximize the return from stock market because of so many different reasons. So he's saying for customers, and initially he was looking at urban customers, for customers, a certain age group, certain profile, who want to build wealth through stock market for whatever reason. Could be retirement, could be world travel, education of the kids, whatever. People of a certain age group who want to build that wealth but are not able to because they don't know how to invest in stock market. They end up putting the money in FDs and whatever, gold, etc., which doesn't quite give as much, or cash sitting in savings accounts. Who find stock market very complex and not for me. They've created an app that uses AI to help average Indians build wealth, make smart investments, and build wealth in the stock market. And that's the secret sauce. The secret sauce is the core AI-based engine that analyzes all the data, analyzes my profile, and suggests, okay, you can invest, if you want to invest 10,000, 2,000 there, 2,000 here, whatever, 6,000 there, and then tracks it and recommends. It's like a digital financial advisor for you. And of course, we're at this point in time, they're tracking about $1 million per annum in revenues. So that's just a starter framework for pitch. Do we have 1 or 2 volunteers to try it? I will just give you feedback. Does anyone want to try this? Just follow the format. Anyone? Come on.
Yeah, could you? I didn't get the question properly. Could you repeat the question?
Do you want to make an elevator pitch for your startup right now in less than 60 seconds following this format?
Okay.
Friendly pitch?
Hello.
Yes?
Yeah, hi, Jeffrey.
Hi, do you want to take a shot?
Yes. So should I try?
So start with for whatever customer segment who want to achieve or having this problem, whatever. Just follow this.
Tone down kar denge.
So our solution is a hybrid market.
No. Hold on. Follow the script. So first talk about your customer. For whom are you talking? Mention your customer first.
So it is a solution for the local shopkeepers.
Hmm.
And and who want to increase their who want to increase their businesses that are losing due to change of rapidly changes way of doing business.
Okay.
But they are not technically strong.
Okay.
They are not enough technically strong, and they're not enough educated. So our solution is a local hybrid marketplace where a shopkeeper can list their shop and their products, which enables them to reach to the wide range of customers.
Hmm.
And our secret source is we provide the all the online convenience, all the convenience of the online e-commerce marketplace with the trust of the local market, trust of the local shopping.
Hmm.
And our
Okay.
current action is, yeah.
Go ahead.
And
Go
our
ahead.
current action is we have more than 2,300 sellers registered on our platform with more than 150,000 product uploaded. And we have daily user visiting on our platform is more than its average visiting 100 to 200 customers are visiting our on our website regularly.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I want to applaud you for sticking with the format, and I think being very crisp about your elevator pitch. So you took less than 60 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Vipul, you want to try?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We are working for, we are a biotech company making product for biopharmaceutical and cosmetic product development company. They can develop an animal origin free ingredient put into their product. They are facing the problem like our animal origin component of the products are harmful, so they can replace this. Our solution is that we are making different ingredients which are animal origin free, can be commonly used and individually also, which will enable them to make their product cleaner, greener, and environment friendly and more suitable for the users. Our secret sauce is we have a platform technology which can develop different type of animal origin free proteins by using one platform technology and with more efficiently and yield. Our current traction is we are working with one of the biggest pharma company within a collaboration for a co-development product.
Thank you. Thank you. Very clear. Just tell me once again, who's the customer right at the top? Which customer segments are you focusing on?
Biopharmaceutical and cosmetics formulation.
But is there a certain size or certain focus area for these, or anybody?
No, these all are the who are working for the vaccine production for cancer drugs.
Oh, I see.
Stem cell research.
Okay. Okay. Helpful then. See that the moment you clarified it, the market, the understanding of the customer segment narrower and sharper. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Maybe one more. We have 4 people who want to.
Can I go? Okay.
One more. Yeah, go ahead.
या सर एक्चुअली हम फार्मर के लिए काम करते हैं, ऐसे प्रोग्रेसिव फार्मर जो टेक्नोलॉजी को जल्दी से अडॉप्ट कर पाए, लेकिन उनकी प्रॉब्लम ये है कि अब तक मार्केट में कोई ऐसा इकोसिस्टम नहीं है जहाँ पे किसान अपनी प्री हार्वेस्ट से लेके पोस्ट हार्वेस्ट की हर प्रॉब्लम को सोल्व कर पाए। हमने किसानों के लिए मोबाइल ऐप बनाई है जो iOS पे भी है, एंड्रॉइड पे भी है, और हम उनको एक ऐसा इकोसिस्टम दे रहे हैं जहाँ पे वो अपनी हर प्रॉब्लम को सोल्व कर सकते हैं। हर किसान डिजिटल हो सकता है। ऐसे किसान जो मोबाइल फोन को अच्छे से चलाना जानते हो वो हमारी टेक्नोलॉजी को यूज कर सकते हैं, और आज हमारे साथ 2 लाख फार्मर हैं जो हमसे जुड़ चुके हैं।
अच्छा, और इसमें आप बोल रहे हैं प्री हार्वेस्टिंग मतलब सीड्स, फर्टिलाइजर से लेके मंडी तक का प्रोसेस आप हैंडल करते हैं,
बीज से बाजार तक।
Oh, I see. अच्छा, I think the idea is clear, but who else is doing this?
जी, actually I can understand what you say.
इस तरह का आइडिया और कौन-कौन कर रहा है यहाँ इंडिया में?
एक्चुअली अभी कोई ऐसा इकोसिस्टम नहीं है जो सब कुछ कर रहा हो। अलग-अलग फील्ड में कोई ट्रैक्टर पे अकेले काम कर रहा है, कोई सिर्फ एनिमल्स पे अकेले काम कर रहा है, क्योंकि फार्मर को ट्रैक्टर भी खरीदना बेचना है, एनिमल्स भी खरीदने बेचने हैं, उसको
करेक्ट
भी खरीदना है। ये चीजें प्रॉब्लम है, क्योंकि इनफैक्ट फार्मर के पास एक्चुअली हम है जो बड़े फोन रखते हैं, लेकिन फार्मर है उनके पास इतनी मेमोरीज भी नहीं होती कि बहुत ज्यादा ऐप 10-15 ऐप को डाउनलोड भी कर पाए। उनके पास एक व्हाट्सएप भी काफी हैवी हो जाता है उनके लिए।
नहीं, ठीक बोल रहे हैं आप। एक्चुअली आई वर्क क्लोजली विद पशुशाला, तो वो सिर्फ कैटल के बारे में देखते हैं इसमें।
जी,
and ठीक, thank you. No, thank you folks. Sorry, time will not permit us to do more, but this entire presentation and certainly this template will be shared with you. My strong recommendation is fill it out, practice it with your friends, co-founders, and till your story becomes sharper in making these elevator pitches. But I'm going to go ahead and also share with you, and of course, like I said, this will come to you. When you starting to make a pitch deck, those are the 5 key things to look at. But specifically, make sure these 12 items are covered in your pitch deck. Because invariably, if you don't cover it, they will ask you a question around it. So one way or the other, it doesn't mean 12 slides. You can squeeze it in 8 slides if you wish. But please cover these facets for an investor upfront. And I think we've talked about most of them, if not all of them already. I want to share with you, I know we have exceeded our time. Apologies, I'll wrap it up in a couple of minutes. Often founders say, okay, we're doing so much, but we don't really know how well we're doing. What should we do in terms of startup? What is my GPS? Where should I go? Am I ready to raise funds? So folks, there is a free website we've developed for the community. It's called Soar High. You go there, take that assessment, no more than 10 minutes, and it'll give you a report that talks about how ready you are to launch your startup, how ready are you to face investors, how from an investment readiness perspective. It'll also give you some other business insights. But I think the most important thing is you will get some recommendations from our system, which is pulling together data from thousands of startups. It'll tell you if you need to work on co-founding team, if you need to work on your marketing plan, if you need to work on making a better pitch deck. All of that you will get on this website. Feel free, like I said, free, built for the community. Okay, I want to stop here. Thank you for your attention, but also happy to take a few